Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I am Derek Hayden here with your other host, Garrett Ulmer, and we are bringing you the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. I'm going to go ahead and dig into introducing our guest today. Our guest was the Decatur Chamber of Commerce Micro Business of the Year Award winner in 2016. He won the 2016 Business Expansion Award through the Decatur Chamber of Commerce. His barbershop was voted as the #1 barbershop for 5 consecutive years in the Decatur Herald and Review Reader's Choice Awards. His barber college was voted as the #1 trade school for 3 consecutive years in the Decatur Herald and Review Reader's Choice Awards. He's previously named to the Business Journal of Central Illinois list of 20 people under 40 who make a difference in Central Illinois. He's the founder of Lockhart's Barbershop and Lockhart's Barber College. He is currently an accounting student at Millikan University and operates a real estate rental business while maintaining his real estate license. Ladies and gentlemen of Central Illinois, it is our honor and pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Brandon Lockhart.
Thanks, Derek. That was an excellent introduction. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, hey, yeah, the intro that you always deserve, Brandon. So we're excited to have you on the podcast. It's going to be tough to follow that one up with the accolades we just mentioned there. So
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and kick it over to Garrett to do a little bit of digging to find out a little more about Brandon Lockhart.
Absolutely. Well, once again, thanks for being on with us. I tell you what, with credential line like that, I think we might as well just go ahead and hand you to be the host. I think you could probably take it from there as far as that goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a speed round, 60 seconds, 6 questions, just for our listeners and viewers to get a little bit better idea of who Brandon is. You ready to roll?
Sure.
All right. So first off, what's first concert?
Ooh, the first concert. Gosh, you're taking me back now. Actually, so the first concert that I ever went to was a Carmen concert, and Carmen is a Christian singer. It was for the Righteous Invasion of Truth tour. And that takes me back to, I think I was like 8 years old maybe, or something like that.
Gotcha.
Nice.
That's
perfect.
perfect.
It was a good concert.
Yeah.
All right. Your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I think my favorite movie is probably Best in Show.
Best in Show. I'm not familiar with that one, Brandon.
Have you seen Mascots?
Yes.
Okay. It's the same people. Just a niche area of humor that I really appreciate. If you haven't seen Best in Show, you ought to check it out.
All right. Your favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor? Probably cookie dough. Yeah.
All right.
Go cookie dough.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. iPhone or Android user?
Android. Way more economical.
Gotcha. Favorite social media platform?
LinkedIn.
And why Central Illinois?
Yeah. So Central Illinois is where my family is and where my wife's family is. It's where I had the opportunity to start my first business, and I started it here for those reasons. The location made a lot of sense, but also, once you get to know the people, just a lot of good folks in Central Illinois.
Yeah, Derek and I couldn't agree more as far as that goes. So.
That's for sure.
Well, now that our listeners have got a little bit better idea of who you are, we'd like for you to tell us a little bit about your story, kind of your journey, where you started out as a business owner, and kind of where you're at today.
Sure. Absolutely. So do you guys want me to take it back to, you want the long story or the short story?
You can go back as far as you want.
Okay.
We always say anything 3 minutes or less, whatever you can pack into 3 minutes, you give it.
If you go over 3, we won't hold you hardly.
Yep.
Okay. Appreciate it. So I don't think I've shared my full story with anybody publicly. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Awesome.
All right.
So I grew up, or I was born in Junction City, Kansas. My dad he was in the Army there at Fort Riley. I grew up very poor. We lived in mobile homes and public housing. My parents were divorced when I was 8 years old. And so for quite a while, I was raised by a single mother in public housing. Um, Naturally, at a young age, I sort of started to align with other delinquents, kind of a product of my surrounding. And that continued, clean through high school. Despite this, somehow I managed to graduate high school. I went to community college, and to be quite honest with you, I was a little more focused on drugs and alcohol, everything except what I should have been focused on. And basically, after failing out of community college in 2010, I hit a inflection point in my life. And in 2011, I went to barber school in the Quad Cities, and I had an amazing mentor that influenced my life greatly. His name was Dan Morrissey, and he was the owner of the barber school I went to. He owned four barber schools in Illinois, and he was the chairman on the barber board. So he had a ton of influence and insight in the barber industry, and he taught me a lot. But he was also a really good man. So he showed me the importance of serving others, what it meant to be a good barber, and also what it meant to be a good business person. And so this became a really pivotal moment in my life. After barber school, I got my barber and barber instructor license. And then after that, I moved to Decatur and started Lockhart's Barbershop. And we had a good deal of success. And I attribute that to a lot of the lessons that Dan taught me, but also the support that we received from the community. We were just talking about, Central Illinois folks are, there's some good people, and there really are, and they supported me. So we had a lot of success there. In September of 2014, I started Lockhart's Barber College, which was a point of pride for me because I became the youngest person in the state to open a barber school. So that was pretty cool. We had some major success there, and I had the opportunity to graduate a little over 50 barbers during my time as the director, and fulfill my mission statement, which was to restore the art of barbering in Central Illinois. Over the course of the next 2 years, I opened 3 more barber shops and started investing heavily in real estate from 2004 until now. And we built a pretty substantial portfolio. I've got a little over 100 rental units right now. We received some great awards. You guys already covered those through the Barber Network, and that was really humbling, and it was, a great experience to serve the community there. But in 2018, I started to reach it was like the pinnacle of my success, and the businesses, we had a combined revenue over $750,000, and we were just on fire. And I went through another huge turning point in my life, and it was like, okay, it was chasing money, and then it was like, okay, I'm not satisfied with this, and I kind of realized that I needed to find a deeper purpose for myself. So in January of 2019, I sold the remainder of my barber businesses to follow my dream of going back to school, getting my undergraduate degree, and then going to law school. Part of me wanted to show myself I wasn't an idiot, but a greater part of me wanted the personal development that was going to come with that challenge. So here I am, 25 classes later. I've gotten an A in every class. I've got a 4.0 GPA in my accounting degree, and I've got 5 classes left. I'll graduate next May. And then next August, I'm going to go to law school. I'm not sure where yet. And in fact, until recently, I think the last 3 months, maybe the last 4 months, I kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, maybe I'm just going to practice as a CPA. I like that idea a lot, but as I kind of get to the end of my journey, I can't do it. I do want to go to law school. And so that's something I am going to pursue. And this summer I'll be interning with Bolin Robinson and Ellis. So I'm very excited for that. So that's where I am now. And that has been my very non-traditional journey.
That is awesome.
That is, what an amazing journey. And, you know, I think for anybody that's listening, it doesn't always have to start off at an extremely young age. Things can hit later on in life. And, you know, eventually, hopefully you can find your purpose and stick with it and keep moving forward. So what a great story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I've never heard that story before, Brandon. And I will honestly say, knowing you for a little while, that I'm proud to know you and understand your story. So,
likewise, Derek, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So,
yeah.
You mentioned as you went into the barber college up in the Quad Cities, why did you choose that as your career path? What kind of set that in motion?
Yeah, so I started research. So I basically failed out of community college. I quit going. Like I said, I was doing all the wrong things, and I needed to find a new path, a new direction in life. I wasn't terribly smart at the time, but I was still fairly ambitious. And so I started researching different trade schools, and I realized in Illinois there were 60,000 beauticians and there were only 4,000 barbers. And I kind of realized this, you know, just getting my hair cut around Shelbyville and other areas. I was like, man, there are just not a ton of great barbers. What's going on here? Yeah. And so, yeah, that encouraged me to look into it more. I saw an opportunity, and barber school was like $6,000. It was just a low cost investment with a high return, and made sense.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's great. Well, I know a few of the people who have graduated from your barber college, and just going to their shops and understanding, I'm guessing the methods that you taught, and not to use this term to upset anybody politically, but I feel like you made barbering cool again. You know,
yeah, for sure.
It was, I go, so here in Shelbyville, Jake Elam is my barber.
Sure.
Elam's Barbershop.
Yeah.
And you walk in there and it's an entirely different experience. And like you said, Brandon, as I was growing up, there might've been one or two in Shelbyville, and they were very close to retirement. And it's the experience now going into a barbershop, especially someone who has graduated from your school. You walk into the barbershop and Jake has a bunch of old school pictures on the wall from downtown Shelbyville in 1920.
Yes.
And he's got the vest on with the bow tie.
Yes.
Playing old time blues music. And it's like you're stepping back into time.
Yep.
And I truly believe that people don't just go there for a haircut. They go there for the experience.
Absolutely.
And
100%. We did that for every one of the shops. They all had the same business model and the same structure. And it created an excellent clientele, one, but two, it made us the purple elephant. I mean, nobody had any kind of theme to their barbershops or anything like this. And guys, they just love that old-fashioned, traditional barber experience. It's good old-fashioned American nostalgia. And I think everyone can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think when we talk to most business owners or leaders, it's not about the product that they have to offer. It's about standing out, you know. For those of you that can't see, over Derek's shoulder, he's got a cow behind him, and it's purple. And it's something that Derek and I try to focus on all the time, is being a purple cow. Sure. We don't want to be the same as everybody else. We want to be able to drive down the road, and if there's a field of cows, we're the purple one sticking out. And
absolutely,
that's exactly right. It makes it worthwhile, and then it's not the investment; it's the experience that you get when you look at a product like that.
100%.
Yeah. I want to spend some time there, Brandon. So the creativity to put that together. So I'll just tell you the story. When I first heard of your barbershop in Decatur, I had just started working with Danzig Insurance Risk Advisors there in Decatur. Of course, I'm located in our Shelbyville shop. But one of our owners said, man, I just had the coolest experience at a new barbershop here in town. And I was like, oh yeah, where's that at? I might go get my hair cut there. He said, Lockhart's barbershop. And I said, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I got to meet the owner, and he said, I think he even said he got a shoe shine there. Did you be able to get a shoe?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes. We got a shoe shiner. We still have a shoe shiner in there.
Okay.
Roy Coleman, he's like 85 shining shoes in there.
No kidding.
He's a real deal. He shined shoes back when they had the transfer house at Main and Main there. and they had about 15 shoe shine stands. People would come in through the transfer house and they'd get shined up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, he was telling me about his haircut he got at your shop, and he started telling me about the owner. He's like, I think his name was Brandon. It's like, Brandon Lockhart. Where's he from? Oh, I think he may have said he was from Shelbyville. I was like, Brandon Lockhart from Shelbyville opened a barber shop here.
You're
I was
thinking,
like,
no way.
I was like, are you serious? So I started researching. I was like, well, by golly, that is Brandon. So yeah, that was super cool to hear that you were letting your entrepreneurial juices flow. So I was pretty excited to hear that, and then to watch your path from there. Did you run for mayor of Decatur at one point in time?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I was thinking someone said that, but maybe you should. You could
Absolutely.
put that one on your list there. So no,
I always told them, they always said that I was a good candidate for a couple of things, and I always said I just had too much baggage that I better just stay a business person.
Gotcha.
No, that's very cool.
With what you had going on at all your barber shops, with the experience, was that something that you taught as well at your school, or how did you let your guys know that was one way to be different as well?
Yeah, definitely. So I did emphasize that. I emphasized those things through the school. And obviously a lot of the techniques like the straight razors and stuff, we utilized that at the school, but also the school was structured just like the barbershops were. So the business model kind of spoke for itself, and a lot of the students could see what was working. Not all of them stuck with it. Some of them wanted to have their own identity, and I do understand that. But yeah, we definitely were able to showcase that at the school.
Great. That's very cool. So one of the things we always ask business owners, thought leaders, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you had both with the shop and the college, as far as opening the shop and college, and then thereafter, once it's opened, what were some of those hurdles and struggles you had to work through?
Yeah, so getting the shop open initially. So I didn't have any money, but I found the perfect location. And so I had about $1,000, and my wife had $1,000, or she was my girlfriend at the time. And I convinced her dad to lend me $1,000. So we got this $3,000 shoestring budget, and started the barbershop. And because there was no budget, I couldn't advertise or anything. So I was literally walking through Millikan campus, walking through downtown with these black and white printed flyers. Caleb West helped me out with some graphics, and didn't charge me much for it and stuff. And I remember my first Saturday, I didn't have one client in there. And that was just a struggle. So I would say initially, due to low funding with the shop, that was one of the biggest hurdles. Just, sticking with that and staying resilient and having faith in the process. And then with the barber school, so anytime you get state approval for an educational facility, it's just a ton of hoops to jump through and paperwork.
I can imagine.
So I had to lease a building, a commercial facility, over 2,000 square foot, which, wasn't terribly cheap. And, I had to lease this building before it was a business, before we had any clients or anything. So it sat for months with, I had to pay rent and I had no income coming in. I didn't know when the state was going to approve me. And at the same time, it's a balancing act trying to market to potential students when I can't even tell them what day we're opening the doors. So that there was the hardest part, getting the school open, and the biggest hurdle. But fortunately, at that point in time, I didn't have to take any loans out or anything, and I was able to start the school with cash I had saved from the barbershop. So,
okay,
yeah,
that's so cool, though.
It is.
Loyal listeners out there.
Yeah, you've been
Brandon
through it all.
can make it through having no customers show up on a Saturday
yes.
in his early days, you can push through it. So if you've got a goal or a dream, you can make it happen if you got the guts.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to ask. Your story tells it all. Obviously, perseverance is something that you just have to, if you want something, you got to go after it. for a young entrepreneur, or even an older one that's looking to maybe kind of leave their normal job to try to start a business, what kind of tips do you have for somebody with an entrepreneur mindset?
Yeah. It seems like we're all differently. We all respond differently. But for me, I first of all, I do my homework to a T, and I plan things out in a very detailed way. And then I kind of burn the ship. I go all in. And I do well if I'm in a corner and if I'm that way. If it's a comfortable situation, I can get complacent, and I know that about myself. So I would say educate yourself, know exactly what you're doing, and then commit.
Yeah.
Right. It's tough for Garrett and I. We work in an industry, in the insurance industry, that always seems like it's slow to develop. It's kind of old, pale, stale, and male is the term we like to use. But it's just such an antiquated method of doing business. And when you have an entrepreneurial idea and you're trying to run with it, sometimes it's tough to have to pull the leash back a little bit, because systems may not be able to keep up with you, or it may not be something you can completely move forward with yet. So, but at the same time, I also am a firm believer of, if you've got an idea, run with it. And if you think it's a good idea, share it with a buddy. I share it with Garrett all the time. I have about 500 ideas I come up with on a weekly basis, and some of them work out, some of them don't.
Sure.
But I always say, just run with it. And if it doesn't work out, get out of there and go to the next one. So if you got an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's right. And I think it's important to try a lot of things. Because, the more you throw up, you never know what's going to stick and what's going to work for you. I've tried so many different things, and, some people might say, oh, he was a failure with this, he was a failure with that. But, I had a couple of things that stuck, and, that's the way it works, I think.
Sure.
No, I agree. I always say, if you're not pushing yourself at some point to become somewhat uncomfortable, then, what are you doing? Because eventually the uncomfortable becomes comfortable.
Yes.
If you consistently push forward.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I had a mentor. So I was with the Decatur Chamber Toastmasters for quite a while, and I had the honor of serving as their president. But before I did that, I had a mentor, and he said he always preached the exact same thing. You got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, find what scares you, and do that thing.
Yep.
And yeah, those are wise words, Garrett.
Yeah. So we'll kind of move on to the next chapter that you're currently in. You're a student at Millikan. So the ultimate goal, it sounded like initially, was to seek your law degree. So like I asked you before with barbering, why did you choose that path? What inspired you to seek another degree and then ultimately go towards maybe a law degree?
Yeah. So, first of all, I always regretted not focusing in college and not getting my education. I always wanted to, especially as I started to get older, I really regretted not having my education. So I knew that I definitely wanted to do that. But I also started to fall in love with the challenge that comes with law school, but also I think it's a unique way to serve your community. And I've had a little bit of experience through real estate and tax and a couple other different things, and I could see myself in a couple different positions, and it's an attractive route for me. So I decided that it was something that I wanted to do, but I also had a lot of encouraging friends like Josh Rorscheib and Chris Ellis and Zach Anderson, a few of these other guys that were attorneys. TG Bolin, he's one of the founders of Bree, and he was a client of mine for a long time. And they just encouraged me to do it. They said, you know what, if it's something you want to do, you ought to do it. And, just like anything else, it was like, I got to the point where I just committed to it. And right now, as I'm finishing up my accounting degree, I can see a lot of different routes working out as far as tax law is concerned, or as far as estate planning is concerned. I love the finance side of things and the investing side of things. So it just makes a lot of sense for me at this point.
Great.
Very cool.
Earlier,
so you also Go ahead, Garrett.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. The real estate business. Tell us a little more about that. It sounds like you've got a few properties under your belt.
Yeah, yep. So we have all kinds of different properties, multiple mobile home communities, single family homes, some apartments downtown, and a few storefronts downtown. I think we have about 115 various properties. And a good chunk of those are mobile home communities and apartments and commercial.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yep.
That's great. So
Yeah.
what inspired you to get into the real estate business?
Yeah, so when I first got into barbering and I started getting that entrepreneurial bug, I started seeing a lot of the millionaire statistics and how they correlated with real estate and real estate investors and all this. And so early on, I would say 2012, 2013, I started seeking out more knowledge in that regard. And I was able to connect with one guy named Eric Hintersteiner. He was the gentleman that I was leasing my first barbershop from. And he was a German immigrant, real cool guy. But he had all kinds of different rental properties. And I was able to learn a lot from him. I started purchasing some of his properties years later. And yeah, that's kind of how I transitioned in.
Wow.
Very cool.
It sounds like you've surrounded yourself over the years with some really influential and smart people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that makes a huge difference. Yeah, they say the 5 people you surround yourself with is, the kind of person you're going to be. And so I try to surround myself with people like you guys, people that are smarter than me and that I can learn from. And, that's always a win for me. So.
No, and I know that's always exciting for Derek and I when we get to meet with somebody and just kind of pick their brain, because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm smart. You're way smarter than what I am. But what I always try to do is if I meet with somebody is try to take one thing away from it and what can I implement? How can I make myself better, my business better, and kind of use that. So, I mean, we're always looking to pick somebody's brain about what they're doing. And if it's working for them, more than likely, if you try it and utilize it in the same way, it can be successful for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And along those lines, I thought I'd share that I participated in a masterminds group with Josh Rorschach and a couple of the other people that I tagged in Josh's post that I thought would be good people to interview. And I tell you what, mastermind groups are an excellent way to, get in a room with a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, I'm going to hop back to real quick in the speed round. You mentioned LinkedIn is your favorite platform. How have you used LinkedIn to further your career or to get to know people? Any tips or tricks for the listeners out there?
So for me, I don't know how applicable it would be to other people, but as I've been doing my accounting degree, I've been following a lot of different hashtags and a lot of people that are in various niche markets for accounting, real estate and various other things, like kind properties and stuff like that, investments. So I've been able to learn a lot just from watching other people perform on LinkedIn, but also, you find a lot of valuable connections in, niche markets that you want to be in.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Brandon, we are getting close to the 30-minute mark. Before we wrap it up, anything that you want to share with our loyal listeners that maybe an inspirational quote or something that they can take with them and utilize in their entrepreneurial endeavors?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would just say, don't underestimate the power of resilience. Don't quit. Winston Churchill had a quote that I often think about whenever I'm in a tough situation. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. Well, Brandon, I will tell you your story. If no one's inspired by your story, then they should stop listening to our podcast because it's not going to get much more inspirational than what you just shared. And like I said earlier, I'm very proud to know you and proud of your story. And if you ever need anything from Garrett or I, you don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we want to make sure we're supporting you in everything that you do as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Brandon.
So before we wrap up here, can you share where people can find you at? Where can they find you on social, email you, just share any place you want to be contacted?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn / Brandon-Lockhart or Brandon.Lockhart. I should know that. It's one of those two. If you search me, you'll find me on there, and I would absolutely love to connect with you. Let's see. That's about the only social I have. I'm on Strava. If you like to run or whatnot, add me on Strava. That's something I'm fairly passionate about. But shoot me an email if you have any questions or if you want to connect. My email is brandon.lockhart, and that's at outlook.com. And I'll be happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Brandon. And for you loyal listeners, make sure you are subscribing to the CIBL podcast on whatever platform you consume podcasts on: Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. We're on all of them. Also, if you have a chance, if you enjoyed this podcast, if you find it valuable or entertaining, please leave a review. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can engage with our guests on social media there as well. And for today, until next time, this has been the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.